Harry Potter has a sorting hat, I have a sorting pocket, and it has selected EVMatch as our first team to be presenting this evening. So a big round of applause for EVMatch, and thank you so much. Get started.
All right. Thank you, everyone, for joining us tonight. My name is Heather Hochrein, and this is Erin Williamson, and we are with EVMatch. EVMatch is an innovative sharing platform for electric vehicle charging. EVMatch will increase the number of EV chargers on the map, therefore supporting more EVs on the road. So we know that most Americans currently see convenient and reliable EV charging as a major barrier to EV ownership. We know that many EV owners park on the street and they don't have access to charging at home. We also know that many folks live in rental properties and their landlords won't allow them to install charging stations, even if they offer to pay. Public charging is often very pricey and unreliable. And we also know that it's expensive to install at-home charging, and these stations are often underutilized. But the biggest challenge, and the reason why we're here today, is because of the massive impacts of gasoline vehicles on both the environment and human health. Electric vehicles have zero tailpipe emissions and have the ability to significantly reduce greenhouse gas emissions, especially when coupled with clean energy sources. But in order to increase the number of EVs on the road, we must address these pressing customer issues. Despite these challenges with EV adoption, public policy is heavily focused on increasing the number of zero-emission vehicles. Here in California, Governor Brown has a program, the ZEV program, that aims to put 1.5 million zero-emission vehicles on the road by 2025. And as you can see here, 80% of those vehicles are expected to be battery electric vehicles or plug-in hybrid electric vehicles. Now, these plug-in vehicles have seen rapid technological advances and are continually improving. So it's no surprise that a recent market report from Goldman Sachs shows an expected 37% annual growth rate of EVs over the next 10 years. EVMatch is poised to take advantage of this rapid increase in market and will scale quickly. There are several key trends that show the need for EVMatch. We need 7 times more EVs on the road in California by 2025 in order to meet our California state goals. We also know that there's only 1 public charging station for every 10 EVs on the road. And experts and EV owners alike will tell you this is simply not enough. Most EV owners right now currently charge at home, but we also know that many Americans don't have this option. 37% of US households live in rental properties. 37, and 40% of residents in San Francisco and Los Angeles live in apartments. We also know that when people don't have access or can't afford something, they share. 2 in 5 Americans have used services through the sharing economy. That's over 86 million people. And that's exactly what EVMatch is proposing, to apply the efficiencies of the sharing economy to the need for EV charging. So here's our value. EVMatch will provide a connection for hosts and users. Hosts are owners of residential charging infrastructure who are willing to share access. Users are EV drivers looking for more convenient and reliable charging options. EVMatch will connect the 2 sides of the market and allow for an efficient transaction. We will provide a revenue stream for our hosts and increase their return on investment. On the other side, we'll provide convenient and reliable charging to EV drivers. Now, hosts can have multiple users, and users can have multiple hosts. And hosts can even be users themselves. And through the creation of a network of charging options, EVMatch will increase the efficiency and the convenience of EV charging. Now, Erin's going to tell you a little bit more about how it works.
Thanks, Heather. EVMatch is currently working with a developer to create an online web application that will connect those hosts and those users on both sides of the platform. Users will be able to find EV charging through our mapping system, reserve through our calendaring system, and pay through our mobile payment processing platform. Then they're ready to charge. Hosts will be provided with a suggested price for each transaction based on our proprietary charging algorithm, which will incorporate variables such as the host's utility rate structure and the user's electric vehicle battery capacity. And EVMatch will take a % markup off of each transaction as our own revenue stream. Through our extensive customer research, EVMatch has identified 5 key characteristics of our service that will provide hosts and users the best EV experience possible. First, we'll provide that reservation system, allowing drivers to know exactly where and when they'll be charging, saving valuable time and money. Two, we've heard time and time again that public charging is very pricey, so we'll need to be low cost. Third, we'll need to provide a security platform, so we'll implement a robust liability policy as well as a rating system like you've seen on other sharing platforms such as Airbnb. We'll also capitalize on the community building that EV chargers have already been doing and will continue to do as EV driving numbers increase. And lastly, we'll provide that payment processing platform as a value add over some of the other existing EV platforms out there to add legitimacy to the transaction and also to provide that revenue stream to those hosts. So we'll capitalize on those market trends and leverage our lean business model, which features high gross margin and low initial capital expenditure to go to market and scale quickly. Here's a timeline of some of our current activities. We've already started extensive marketing and customer acquisition, and we'll plan to continue to do that to reach capacity. We've already actually even made a few matches in our pilot project in Santa Barbara. We're currently in the process of developing that web app and A/B testing, and we plan to launch it within the next 6 months. Again, as I mentioned before, we'll implement that liability policy to make sure that both sides are secure. And we'll continue to develop key partnerships with auto manufacturers, other EV stakeholders, and folks in the tech startup world. And then lastly, we'll look to target our market, which the first expansion is going to be the San Francisco Bay Area. The EVMatch team is 4 Masters of Environmental Science and Management students at the Bren School at UC Santa Barbara. We bring varied experience across the industry and are actively working with our advisory board to deepen industry ties and to give us guidance on the startup process. So why EVMatch? EVMatch's solution is at the intersection of cleaner electricity, the growth of grid-connected vehicles, and the sharing economy. EVMatch will lead the charge in providing reliable, affordable, and convenient charging for EV drivers, and will accelerate the clean energy economy. Thanks everybody for joining us, and at this point I'd like to invite our teammates Kelsey and Shannon up to answer some questions.
Big round of applause.
So these.
I have a quick question.
Yes.
My charger is inside my garage, and I would feel nervous about opening it up to a wide variety of who's going to come, do I trust them in my garage, et cetera, et cetera. Comments on that?
Yeah, definitely. This is something that we've heard time and time again from potential customers, although it is interesting to note that our actual pilot participants did not have that issue. We asked them if they were concerned about security, and all of them said no. But it is something that we hear time and time again, and so we are definitely planning to implement a robust liability policy, as well as initially we're going to be building in a rating system into our application so that you'll be able to see who is requesting to charge. And with each request, you are able to either accept or deny. So if you see individuals who have had previous, bad history with other charging interactions, you can deny their request. You can, exactly.
Just kind of picking up on that, because I had a similar set of questions. In your pilot project, can you describe a little bit more about the status, and are people in Santa Barbara right now opening their garages to strangers on the network and so on?
Yeah, so currently we have 13 people signed up for our pilot project in Santa Barbara. 8 are hosts and 4 are users. 5 are users, excuse me. And currently we have 2 matches going on. I guess just to lay out a little bit of what those 2 matches look like. One is between a professional who has a Chevy Volt in downtown Santa Barbara. He walks about 10 blocks to his host location. And it's great for him because he actually gets to charge and get his car off the street for street parking during those time frames. We worked with the host to identify what would be the adequate amount of electricity or adequate amount of pricing to cover his electricity costs. And he actually ended up deciding as the host to charge up premium because he's located in downtown and his user can charge there and avoid parking. So we're hoping to ultimately kind of establish a marketplace where the hosts do recognize the value of the location, and even if they have solar, that host I speak of also had solar, and so he charged about 50 cents per hour, I think was what we ended up on, and that gave him about a 20 cents margin in terms of covering his electricity costs. So.
Hi, I have a quick question. So Tesla has a new program specifically with Airbnb where they're installing charging stations across the country. Have you guys been talking at all to either Airbnb or to Tesla on connecting up with the infrastructure charging network that they're deploying? Or are you looking to piggyback with any other potential options where people are already having some sort of sharing economy associated with their charging station to try to optimize your next coming pilot, say, with those kind of partners?
The Tesla, I actually was not aware of that, but thank you for filling us in, and we'll definitely look into that further. We, at the moment, do realize, though, that there is a large issue with the fragmentation of current charging resources. So Tesla is building a network, ChargePoint is building a network, PlugShare is building a network. And one of the things that we're really trying to do with our solution is to address that fragmentation. And so in these last few days, actually, we've been in contact with Google to try and integrate our application into Google Maps and to see how that can work. And we would actually be a third-party data layer in the existing Google Map infrastructure, so that when you type in charging for an electric vehicle, our stations would also pop up.
And I'll just add one thing regarding the Tesla infrastructure. The Tesla chargers are actually not compatible with any of the other EVs on the road, and so that would be an issue going forward in terms of all the other, the Chevy Bolt and every other EV that's looking to come to market, is that it's just simply doesn't work.
Well done, guys. The deck is really well designed, and I think you presented a good, clear problem and a good, clear solution to that that's differentiated. Can you say a bit about pricing? How do you charge? How much do you make from that? And how did you decide those things?
Yeah, that's a great question. So we have developed and are currently refining a pricing algorithm that will be built into the application. And essentially what we do is we suggest a price to the host that takes into several data points, including the voltage of their charger, the battery capacity of the user, and we essentially, and the utility rate structure. So we have built in specific time of use rate structures for each of the investor-owned utilities in California. And then essentially our pricing algorithm will present to them a price that costs for the electricity, and then the host has the ability to mark up that price by a certain percentage. And so our financial models right now expect a 15% markup for the host, and then EVMatch will take a 15% markup over the total charging transaction. And we are testing out that percent markup with our pilot project. So all of our participants are asked after they participate for a month what they would be willing to pay in terms of a percent markup. And we are hearing 12% is what we've been hearing primarily. And so we are looking at different pricing options based on the research we collect.
Wonderful, thank you. Another big round of applause for EVMatch. Thank you very much. All right, and the next team that was selected is going to be